We are coming to you live from the deep red state of Tennessee on rumble.com/LFA TV. Welcome to Ungoverned. It's going to be a 2-hour show today. 2 hours. Why? Why do you get subjected to 2 hours of that torture? Jeremy's on vacation. He's out for the week. I'll be in for you today. I'll be in for you tomorrow, 2 hours. And on Thursday, 2 hours, 2 straight hours, not divided up, here on rumble.com/LFA TV and everywhere else. So, for those of you who are in the chat, you're gonna have to be our friends today when people are asking why is Sean on for 2 hours. Please respond with the information that I just gave you. We are live. I am live in yet another episode of the Great Feline Civil War of 2026. It's getting worse, not better. So there's that. But that's not what we're going to dwell on today. Brennan is currently right now consoling a cat. So she is not here with me once again. We'll see how long this, we'll see what happens with this part of the saga. But that is what it is. Iran negotiations. Are they on life support? I mean, part of the discussion to me looks like yes, it's on life support. Part of the discussion to me looks like no, it's not on life support. So I look at this, I ask, I look at a bunch of commentary surrounding it. I look at a bunch of, opinions and things surrounding it. And to me, it looks like the negotiations are kind of hanging on by a thread, which is something that I would say we kind of expected. I don't think anything was going to happen overnight. But I also think that you know what Iran likes to do is they like to talk big. They talk a big game. Oh, we're not going to sit here through the negotiations and Lebanon and the Strait of Hormuz is closed and then it's open and then it's closed and then it's open and then it's closed and then it's open. I'm going to tell you what's not good, though. And I get it. This is the type of world that we live in. And I get it that this is the nature of the beast when it comes to commentary and opinions and the world of constantly being connected, right? Everyone's got access to information all the time. Ironically, right now, X is down, which is hilarious because now you're going to see all of the social media addicts, these pathetic lowlives. I can't post on X. I can't. Good. Maybe do something productive. Maybe get off your ass and, I don't know, take a walk or something. I don't know. But what you're seeing now is and I've noticed this really, I would say, since the beginning of the social media, era, right? Where, and I remember, I started as a sports guy. I loved, and I still love sports. Except soccer. I just don't like it. I'm happy that Team USA beat Australia. I'm rooting for them, but I'm not watching the World Cup. I don't like soccer. I'm not watching it. I hope the United States wins, and I hope they win without me watching. I'm not watching. I don't like it. I'm not entertained by it. I think it's dumb. Whatever. Well, the rest of the world, okay, fine. The rest of the world is wrong. I'm right. That's the way it works. Okay? That's the way it works. I grew up in the, sports radio, sports social media, all this. And it started, I started to see it happening there. Right? Where every decision was an apocalyptic decision. And look, trust me, when I was young, I would want to fire the head coach after one loss. Right? Like, you can't do that. I get it, for continuity's sake. But how many times have we seen in the sports world, if you once were a fan or you're still a fan, where a player does a good thing and now that is the best play of all time, or they're the greatest player at that position of all time, or that's the best catch that we've ever seen of all time, or it's this, the best of all time, the best, the worst, the best, the tallest, the shortest, the strongest, the weakest, this, that. Everything is always like with the hyperbole, right? With the exaggeration, with the of all time. Everything. And the reason why that happens is for attention. The wilder and more dramatic the claim, the more attention that claim, that post, that content, whatever it is designed to get. It's the same thing as, in an older era, 25 years ago, newspapers with a very eye-catching headline, right? What we would call clickbait today was, I would click, read, views, purchase, whatever. It was bait. It was eye candy on the front of the newspaper, right? The big headline doesn't necessarily describe the story, but it's a big headline. Same thing we see now. Because people need attention. Because attention is monetized, right? We've seen this. The point that I'm making here is everybody who is talking about these Iran negotiations, everyone needs to calm the down. Josh Hammer, Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin on one side. And then, your anti-Israel Owen Schroyers and Alex Jones and all the Sean Ryan, Tucker Carlson on the other side. Calm the down. Stop going crazy over every single report. You are going to give yourself a heart attack if you keep doing this. Relax. You're not going to get a deal. The MOU is not the final deal. There are people, this MOU is disgraceful. Okay, great. You have your opinion. It's not the final deal. Number one. Number two. This is not going to be done overnight. Oh, Iran's walking out. They closed the strait. Bomb. Guys, chill. Chill. Now, my position is, just so we're clear, I don't like the Iranian regime. I want to see the regime fall. But under no circumstances do I want to see U.S. boots on the ground a la Iraq, Afghanistan, to make the regime fall. Not our job. Our objective is to make sure they don't get a nuclear weapon as far as I'm concerned. I am 100% behind that. 100%. I want to see peace in the region. I don't know if it's possible with the regime that's currently in power in Iran. I get it. I'm with you on that. I'm there. I support Israel's right to exist. I support the Jewish people's right to have their homeland. If that makes me a Zionist, if that's what that means these days, so be it. Fine. That's my position. I have zero allegiance to Bibi Netanyahu. I don't like him. I have zero allegiance to the Israeli government. They're not my government. They're not my problem, the government of Israel. Matter of fact, a lot of things they have, a lot of policy they have there, especially social policy, is a little too liberal for me over there in Israel. But that's fine. That's their country. I don't vote in their elections. I don't have a say. I don't want to say. I've never been there. I don't even have a passport. I can't even go there. But I ask folks on both sides of this whole this huge, shouting match, whether it's Levin and Josh Hammer or it's these other guys, Schroyer and Alex Jones and all these Tucker Carlson and Candace, just chill out. I get it. You need attention. You need clicks. You need views. You need your audience. You need to fire people up. I understand you have opinions. That's okay. But the hyperbolics, the dramatics, the over-exaggeration, the sensationalism, that's helping nobody. Your vice president right now is in Switzerland trying to get a deal done, and you're trying to undermine it on both sides of this thing? Just relax. Let it play out. And if you want to negotiate a better deal, whoever you may be, then you run for freaking office. Get out from behind your microphone and you run for office. I raised concerns over what I didn't like in the MOU, but did I light my hair on fire and start running around and scream the sky is falling on Friday and Thursday of last week? No. I said, here's where I might be concerned. Here's why I might be concerned. One of those concerns, what was it? Do you remember what one of the concerns was last week that I had with the MOU? It was for 60 days, there's no tolls in the Strait of Hormuz. And I said, I don't really like that. There should never be tolls in the Strait of Hormuz, because that could have a really bad impact, a negative impact on the global oil economy, right? Well, a couple of days, not even, it was a day after I said that. I'm not saying that I'm taking credit for why anyone said it. It was a day after I said, I don't like this, but let's see what happens. J.D. Vance and Donald Trump announced a plan for the Strait of Hormuz in terms of, will there be tolls? Will there not be tolls? Just calm down, please. We've seen what happens when we panic. We've seen what happens when we put the cart in front of the horse. We've seen just go no further than COVID, right? Look no further than COVID. Everybody and their mother flipped out, and what happened? We wound up with lockdowns. There was no toilet paper. Everybody was wearing a mask. There was mandates and curfews and all sorts of insane stuff. Just chill. Just chill. That's all I ask. Because what I don't want to see is Iran and the United States have a falling out in these negotiations, and the next thing you know, you've got people, now we have no choice. Time to put U.S. boots on the ground. And now we have a forever war, and now we have a problem. Just relax. Please. For your health, for the health of these negotiations, for the health of the discourse, for the health of the conversations and the discussions, in, out. I'm going to show you some examples of some of the things that are really, really getting me upset. And I'm sorry, but the super, I'm on, folks. If you are one of these people who are super, super, super pro-Israel, I'm on your side. I'm pro-Israel too. But you're getting crazy. You're getting crazy. And you're turning people like me off. Now, I'm not going to say that Israel doesn't have the right to exist. I will never say that, because they have the right to exist. But my goodness, the hysterics that I'm seeing after a slightly not getting your way is just, it is. I didn't think that side of the argument, that side of the aisle, that side of the discussion was capable of such childishness. And I guess I misread that, because it's getting crazy. So we'll get to that. We'll get to some updates. We got updates on Iran. We've got an update on the country and whether the country has an appetite for more with Iran. That's important too. You have to understand the American people matter in this equation. We are a very big part of this equation. Do the people want to see more conflict in Iran or not? 78% of people say they don't want to see more conflict. We'll also get to the Department of Homeland Security talking about deportations, a very encouraging thing. A former Olympian was arrested for vandalizing the reflecting pool. We've got updates there. The FBI has put together a most wanted fraudster list, so we've got updates there. We've got a ton of updates, a ton of stuff to get to, a ton of news to get to. Before we get to it, I want to get to a word from our friends at OFPfarms.com. That is OFPfarms.com. Oscar Foxtrot Papa Farms.com. They are celebrating America 250. Listen, you know me. I'm an activist before anything else. I love sharing businesses that are built on faith, family, and freedom and hard work. That is OFP Farms. And OFP Farms obviously has been with us for a very long time. So we love to highlight all the great. You saw me. I had to put goat kisses on just before because I had, I'm a lip licker. Okay. I'm a lip licking SOB. They're a small family farm making handcrafted skincare with goat milk, grass-fed tallow, magnesium, and simple ingredients that your skin can actually understand. Their products are made for the everyday person dealing with dry skin, sensitive skin, sore muscles, tired feet, cracked lips, or just wanting something cleaner and more nourishing than what you find on most store shelves. Right now, in celebration of America's 250th birthday, OFP Farms is offering, are you ready? 17.76% off of your entire order. There it is. So here's what you do. Go to OFPfarms.com and put in your order and put in your promo code Sean, and then you screenshot as a, when you get your receipt, you can screenshot that 17.76% discount. How about it? OFPfarms.com, 17.76% off, celebrating America 250, commemorative screenshot of your purchase. Be like, look at this really cool company. Share it with your friends. This is their way of honoring our heritage, celebrating the freedoms that we've been blessed with, and saying thank you to every freedom-loving customer who chooses to support small farms and family businesses. Go to OFPfarms.com and use the code Sean, SHAWN, for 17.76% off your entire order. That is OFPfarms.com, promo code Sean. You see it on your screen for 17.76% off of your entire order. Not 18%, 17.76% off of your entire order. OFPfarms.com, promo code Sean, SHAWN. OFPfarms.com, promo code Sean, SHAWN. All right, let's get into this. Iran negotiations continue after day one talks on Lebanon, nuclear enrichment, and the Strait of Hormuz. So there have been some sticking points over in Iran, right? And the sticking point, again, the sticking point in these negotiations have been my biggest issue has been this Lebanon issue. Okay? When you look at Lebanon, it's got to be a two-way street. All right? I'm with a lot of the folks on the pro-Israel side on this. It's got to be a two-way street. Okay? Has to be. Has to be a two-way street. If Israel is going to have to pull out of Lebanon, if Israel is going to have to stop bombing, Hezbollah targets and strategic targets in Lebanon, then Hezbollah has to stop too. It has to be a two-way street. You cannot, in good faith, ask a sovereign country like Israel to just accept rockets being fired from another country into land beyond their borders. You can't, within their borders. You can't ask them to do that. You cannot ask Israel to just accept rocket fire into their country. That's ridiculous. Whether you like Israel or not, whether you support Israel or not, whether you're pro-Israel or not, whether you're a Zionist or not, we can all acknowledge right now, I don't even care if you disagree with the existence of Israel. That doesn't matter. Israel is a sovereign country with its own borders. Yes or no? Yes or no? Israel is a sovereign country with its own borders. The answer to that is yes. Therefore, because they have their own borders and they're a sovereign country, they have the right to defend themselves. Period. Period. Okay? That's it. This is simple. So Israel's a sovereign country, i.e. they govern themselves. They have established borders. Therefore, they have the right to defend themselves. If someone is sending rockets into that country, who is anyone in the rest of the world to say, stop hitting back? Now, you want to critique whether the IDF and whether Israel as a nation during these strikes have been a little reckless? You can critique that. We can have that conversation another day. But if a terror group, a proxy group, a rogue group, a militarized group, whomever it might be, in this case, Hezbollah, in Lebanon, is shooting rockets into Israel, I would expect Israel to say, well, who the hell are you shooting rockets into my country? We have the right to defend ourselves. We're gonna start bombing strategic locations. Now, Trump has been critical of Bibi and the IDF, saying, well, why would you go after an apartment building? Well, we know that in some cases, these terror groups hide their munitions and their operations inside civilian targets so that, it brings condemnation when these countries who are defending themselves have to hit those targets. Oh, Israel just bombed a school. Israel just bombed a hospital. Israel just bombed an apartment building. And it's like, well, they did, but that's because that's where the terrorists were hiding. Well, are you saying everybody in the building are terrorists? No, we're not. But aside from having IDF soldiers going door to door, ripping people out of their homes in Lebanon, this is the only other way they can do it. So if you want Israel to stop bombing targets in Lebanon, you need to get that terror group Hezbollah to stop shooting rockets into Israel. That's fair. That's fair. Okay? I feel like this is as fair as you're going to get anywhere online. This is fair. If Hezbollah, and remember what the MOU said. The MOU said, ending the fighting on all fronts, including Lebanon. Well, Hezbollah hasn't stopped fighting. Right? Hezbollah has not stopped fighting, right? Or wrong? Let's start there. The first point of the Memorandum of Understanding said fighting would cease on all fronts, including Lebanon. Fighting has not ceased in Lebanon because Hezbollah keeps shooting rockets into Israel. So that part of the MOU is not being honored by Hezbollah, by Iran. And as far as I'm concerned, Israel's defending themselves here. That's number one. Number two, nuclear enrichment. All right, here we go again with the nuclear enrichment. Quote, topics of discussion have included clarifying some of the confusing messaging from Iran on the Strait and building deconfliction mechanisms to ensure the Strait will remain fully open, according to a U.S. diplomat. We have also worked through deconfliction mechanisms and enforcing the ceasefire in southern Lebanon. We have had robust discussions on all elements of the nuclear deal. We plan to continue working through each of these issues and using today's work as a starting point for ongoing technical talks going forward. Qatari Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, too many names, shared a photo of Vance and himself writing from Lucerne, and efforts and joint work continue. The first session of high-level talks under the framework of the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding have concluded in Bergenstock, Switzerland, with the participation of representatives from Iran and the United States and the two mediating parties of the State of Qatar and the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. The Lake Lucerne Summit was conducted in a positive and constructive atmosphere. Encouraging progress has been made, including the creation of a mechanism for further technical talks. Building on the MOU, the parties have agreed to the establishment of a high-level committee, which will provide political oversight on the mediation. Chief negotiators will report regularly to the high-level committee and lead working groups focused on nuclear, sanctions, and a monitoring and dispute resolution group to ensure the effective implementation of the MOU and other matters. The high-level committee has agreed upon a roadmap towards reaching a final deal within 60 days, laying the foundation for the immediate commencement of further technical talks. In addition, a communication line between the parties has been formed for the period mentioned in paragraph 5 of the MOU to avoid incidents and miscommunication with the aim of safe passage for commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. We keep seeing the mixed messaging coming through from Iran over regarding the Strait of Hormuz, correct? We keep seeing that. It's open, it's closed, it's open, it's closed, it's open, it's closed, it's open, it's closed, it's open, it's closed. How the hell are we going to get, how does anyone know what's going on? How does anyone know what's going on? Nobody knows what's going on from the Iranian side. To me, that sends the signal that their leadership is severely fractured. Severely fractured. Okay. On Hormuz, let's play a clip from Fox News yesterday. This is what Trey Yingst said after he had a conversation with President Trump regarding the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. I just spoke with President Trump for more than 20 minutes, and he gave some new insight and reaction about the ongoing talks that are taking place in Switzerland and the threats coming from the Iranian regime. President Trump telling Fox News that the U.S. may take over the strait in the future if they have to and collect tolls. The president described this as the United States being the guardian angel of the Strait of Hormuz and the Middle East. And the president said ultimately that would involve the U.S. taking 20% of the oil that passes through the strait. Remember, this comes in reaction to the Iranians saying they will close the Strait of Hormuz in response to Israeli strikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon. President Trump tells Fox News he spoke with Iranian officials overnight and said, you close it and you won't have a country. He went on to tell these officials, you won't even make it back to your effing country. Now, earlier today, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian said this about Iranian enrichment of uranium. The president also reacting to that. Take a listen.
We will not give up our right to enrichment. And they, too, will be forced to accept it. You all know what the so-called President of the United States was saying. He had made a complete 100-degree turn. He was saying that Iran must surrender unconditionally. Iran has no right to do this. It has no right to do that.
President Trump, during our call, responded directly to those comments by Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. President Trump told Fox News he better watch his mouth, he better shape up, or we'll take over the rest of the country. And so clearly the president reacting directly to these comments from Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian. And also President Trump talked about the broader memorandum of understanding, indicating this is just a ceasefire extension. This is not the final deal with the Iranian regime. And the president says he holds the cards and maintains a variety of options if the Iranians don't make these serious commitments at the negotiating table. He said, I have a 60-day option and I can do whatever I want after that option. So again, President Trump leaving a variety of considerations on the table and says that the United States could become the guardian angel of the Strait of Hormuz and collect tolls itself while taking oil, around 20%, the president says. As it relates to oil, President Trump also said that 19 million barrels of crude oil exited the Persian Gulf yesterday as a result of this memorandum of understanding with the Iranians. Guys?
So, Trey, as always...
All right, there was Trey Yingst giving you a little bit. I saw a comment in the chat here that makes... I saw a comment in the chat here that makes a little bit of sense. Kimberly __ K says, Iran is simply putting out propaganda to save face with their people. Man, you would think that's a no-brainer, right? Good job, Kimberly K. Let me give you a round of applause. Thank you. You would think that's a no-brainer. You know, it's like you would believe a lot of people could pick that up and say, "Oh, okay, it's just propaganda." But what you have is a bunch of morons in this country who see Iranian propaganda that is clear Iranian propaganda, so clear. Kimberly K was able to pick it out. That's propaganda. And believe it and go, oh, there you go. Israel and, Iran and the Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz is closed and all this. Folks, when When did we lose the ability to distill fact from fiction? Thank you. Kimberly K., another round of applause for you. Iran is simply putting out propaganda to save face with their people. Yes. Yes. Thank you. It reminds me of like last year after Midnight Hammer, and they like retaliated. Remember? Remember when they retaliated? And they were like, we staved off the enemy. And people were like, and there were a few like Luke Rudkowski, who's a complete and utter tool online, where he was like, oh, this is bad. This is going to turn into a world war. And I see our I'm not even going to name Negative Nancy. You know what? Negative Nancy, you know who you are. Oh, we were told they were decimated. They are decimated. Are you insane? They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. Their leadership structure is insanely fractured. That's why they can't have a negotiation without changing the story every 30 minutes. They have no air defense. They have no radar. We don't even know if their supreme leader is actually alive or some autopen is writing things for him. But you, the fool that you are, you, Negative Nancy, that's how I'm going to refer to you. You know who you are. Negative Nancy. All you do is bitch and moan every day, and I am so tired of it. I am so tired of seeing, oh, stop attacking your support. You don't support nothing. You bitch and moan every day in this chat, Negative Nancy. Every day. You could have the best day ever, and there's still something wrong. We could have deported every illegal alien. You go, well, how come it didn't happen sooner? Just shut up already with the negativity. I'm so tired of it. Shut up. Or go out somewhere else. Go away. Iran does not control the Strait. The Strait was never closed yesterday. They just said it was. You know why? Because they lie. Because they're a bunch of Islamo-fascists who lie. And you seem to not understand that concept. For the sake of being freaking negative. Debbie Downer. I don't want that type of nonsense in my locker room. Nonsense. Shut up. I'm not saying we have to wear rose-colored glasses, but every freaking word out of your mouth is negative. Shut up. Because it's been months of this crap. And you know exactly who in this chat I'm talking about. I'm not going to give this person's name any oxygen. Get out of here. I'm calling strikes and balls. Negative Nancy, every day, nothing's happening. Oh, go blackpill in someone else's show and disrupt someone else's chat. You got to give these negotiations a chance. Well, we were told Iran was decimated. What is your solution? Other than whining. What's your solution? Because we're going to move on to the next point here. This country does not have an appetite for this conflict, period. This country, can you get him out of the chat for the day? Bucklebrush Jones out of the chat for the day. I'm done with this guy. I'm done. Get him out. Nothing but a distraction. Out. Come back tomorrow when you're in a better mood. And if you're not in a better mood, we'll do it again. Out. This is what we're talking about here. 78% of Americans want the conflict. And then this guy's going to whine to me on X. I'm going to block him there. I'm so tired of the negativity. Every freaking day, I got to see this guy's comments in the chat whining about something else. Go away. Go away. 78% of Americans want the conflict with Iran to end now. Now. So this is the only way out. This is the only way out of the conflict is negotiations. Because if we don't negotiate with Iran, then we got to go back to a military conflict. Well, guess what? The country has no appetite for it. And our politicians are supposed to listen to what this country wants. 78% of Americans want this conflict to end now. A majority of Americans want the United States to end the war with Iran right now, according to a recent CBS News and YouGov poll. The survey, which was taken Wednesday through Friday of last week, asked participants the conflict with Iran. What should the United States do now? CBS reported Sunday. 78% said the nation should end the conflict now, while 22% said continue the conflict until Iran gives up more. So if you are among the people who want to hold out like Jack Keane on Fox News, that guy, whenever he comes on the screen, I'm like, here we go. Here we go. Tell me why we should put boots on the ground, Jack. Go ahead. You're in the 22 percentile. You're in the very, very, very slim minority. The poll surveyed Republicans asking what should the United States do now. 60% of all Republicans said the nation should end the conflict now, and 56% of MAGA Republicans agreed. 40% of Republicans said the nation should continue the conflict until Iran gives up more, while 44% of MAGA Republicans agreed. This CBS News YouGov survey was conducted with a nationally representative sample of 2,519 U.S. adults interviewed between June 17th and June 19th, 2026. The sample was weighted to be representative of adults nationwide according to gender, age, race, education, based on the U.S. Census American Community Survey and current population survey, as well as 2024 presidential vote. The margin of error is 2.5 points. So we're well outside the margin of error. There is no appetite in this country for this war to continue. None. Okay? So you have to take that into account. You have to take that into account. Okay? You can't ignore what the American people want. And this is part of what I was talking about last week. There's this ridiculous thought. There's this ridiculous thought that we betrayed the Iranian people. No, we didn't. The United States did not betray the Iranian people because the United States has no allegiance to the Iranian people. Well, Donald Trump posted on social media that help was on the way. Well, let's see. The United States, in cooperation and conjunction with Israel, killed their supreme leader, wiped out several rungs of their leadership structure, fractured the IRGC, destroyed the Iranian military, destroyed the Iranian Navy, destroyed the Iranian air defense, destroyed Iranian radar targets. What else? What else? What else would you like them to do? What other help would you want? Other than, are we going to hold your hand while you wipe your asses too? Well, they need weapons. All right. I get it. They need weapons. The Iranian people need weapons. You're right. You're 100% right. That's why we love our Second Amendment in this country. How do you suppose we get the Iranian people weapons? Let's go. Is there a weapons ferry? Can I call the weapons ferry? 1-866 weapons ferry now. Hi, this is Sean Farish of the United States of America. I'm looking for the weapons ferry to drop off weapons to the Iranian people. Sorry, she's busy. We don't have a weapons ferry because there is no such thing as a weapons ferry. The only way to get weapons to the people in Iran is what? They can't get there by themselves. We tried to arm the Kurds and have them bring the weapons to the Iranians. That didn't work out. Without putting boots on the ground, how do you put weapons in the hands of Iranian citizens? How do you do it? How do you do it? How do you give the Iranian people weapons without putting U.S. boots on the ground? Because we already saw the polling that a huge majority of the country wants the conflict to end now. Therefore, they don't want to see U.S. boots on the ground passing out weapons to Iranian citizens, because that's going to result in a lot of Americans dead. That's going to result in a lot of Americans dead. The CIA will do it. The CIA, you need a massive, robust operation to get weapons into. You're not just passing out 20 guns. You're going to try and arm an entire resistance to overthrow one of the most brutal and established regimes the world has seen in the last couple decades. You're going to need a huge presence down there, and you're also going to have to make sure that the people you're handing out guns to aren't somehow IRGC operatives. You got to vet these people. Who's to say, okay, the United States gets into Iran, they're passing out weapons, word gets out. You don't think the IRGC is going to try and get in there and steal those weapons? You don't think that's going to put these people who are passing out weapons in a terrible position? Are you thinking about any of this? Or are you just sitting there in your recliner saying, we should arm the Iranians? How? Well, we could do it covertly. We could do it secretly. Yeah, maybe if it was like 10 or 20 guns, that's not going to overthrow the IRGC in this regime. How are you going to do it? Let's face it. There is no way to get the regime out of power in Iran without an uprising of the Iranian people. There's no way to do it. And if the Iranian people are afraid to rise up because they don't have weapons, which is justified, I'm not telling you they should throw themselves in front of live fire. But if they are afraid to rise up because they don't have weapons and the IRGC and the regime does, then there is no way right now, the way things currently stand, to overthrow the regime. Okay? So you have to take that part of the equation off the board. At the beginning of the conflict, it looked like, because the regime was already in a weakened position after the protests in January, and they executed 50,000 protesters, and the world was condemning them, and the nuclear ambitions and all this, it looked like the regime was on wobbly legs. And we bombed them, and we thought, hey, maybe this will chase them out of the country, and then somebody will come. Maybe it's Shah Pahlavi, maybe it's that Iranian resistance group, maybe it's another group that takes power, but the regime may fall. The regime didn't fall. You now have to take that possible solution off the board, at least temporarily. That's not realistic right now. If the Iranian people are afraid, and I get it, I get why. I'm not trying to take shots at them and say that they're unjustifiably afraid. No, they have every reason to be afraid. We know that 50,000 of their protesters were killed, and the executions have continued. If the Iranian people are afraid to rise up and try and mount a resistance and a revolution and an overthrow of the regime, then that part of the equation, for the time being, has to be removed from the slate of possible outcomes. What's the next best thing? Well, let's get a deal signed. No nuclear enrichment, no nuclear program. Defund and rein in the terror proxies and keep the strait open first and foremost. That's it. That's all you could do. That's all you could do. Here's Trump's post about the Strait of Hormuz, by the way. There will be no tolls in the Hormuz Strait for 60 days during the ceasefire period, and there will be no tolls after the 60 days have expired unless they are imposed by and for the United States of America should the deal not be completed for services rendered as the guardian angel to the countries of the Middle East for purposes of both past, present, and future reimbursement of costs. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I would prefer if we didn't have to do that. I would prefer it if we didn't have to do that. But it's looking not increasingly likely. Donald Trump is putting that out there saying we'll do it if we have to. One way or the other, Iran is not going to control the strait. I want to play a clip of J.D. Vance talking about the Iranian negotiations that took place yesterday as well, because there were reports, they walked out, they didn't walk out, or they're going to walk out. And Trump provoked him on social media, and he's undermining negotiations. And Vance is, folks, let's take a deep breath and watch these remarks from J.D. Vance, because this is somewhat reassuring. Listen.
No, they didn't throw a wrench in the system. The thing with the Iranians, yes, they did threaten to walk out, or at least there were social media threats that they would walk out. But we were negotiating well past 1 a.m. yesterday, so they didn't walk out. And their technical team is still here in Bergenstock working with our technical team, actually, as we speak, though I imagine maybe some of them are taking a break to watch this news conference. But look, what we told the Iranians yesterday is, when you guys engage in what us millennials might call trash talk, you can't expect the President of the United States not to respond and not to correct the record. So when they say things that aren't true, the President is going to respond to it. I'm going to respond to it. Americans are going to respond to it. When they make threats that aren't rooted in reality, they have to accept that the President of the United States is actually going to set the record straight. That's all that happened. So yes, there was a little bit of threatening, there was a little bit of whining, but at the end of the day, the talks continued and we made great progress.
All right, the talks continued despite all of the reporting yesterday. The talks are falling apart. The strait's closed. The strait's open. The strait's closed. Iran's got a nuke. Iran's doing this. Hezbollah's doing that. The talks continued. The talks continued. Now, I want to highlight something that I don't think is helpful either. And it is the passionately pro-Israel. Listen to me. I don't want to make it look like I'm going full woke right. So I want to be very clear. I am still a supporter of Israel and their right to exist. Okay? But just because I believe Israel has a right to exist, it does not mean that I think that everybody who is on that side is conducting themselves in their best way possible right now. And one of them is this guy, Josh Hammer. I don't know Josh. I've never had an interaction with Josh. I think he follows me on social media. That's fine. Whatever. If he sees it, he sees this. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But this is ridiculous. Trump ties his name and credibility to Vance's dubious Iran diplomacy. Come on. You've got to give it a chance. It has been 3 days or so of negotiations in Switzerland. You have got to give it a chance. And I get it. There's a lot of folks on the pro-Israel side of things don't like J.D. Vance because he's, he had a relationship with Tucker Carlson and he's a little more, of the new age type of MAGA. And, he called out Israel last week. Folks, just because he criticized Israel does not mean you get to decide that this guy's a total failure. You just have a disagreement with him. Josh Hammer says the following: Donald Trump has been the greatest, most clear-eyed, and most transformative foreign policy president of my lifetime. But, here comes the but. Trump is also the famed businessman who wrote The Art of the Deal 4 decades ago. There has therefore always been the risk that the president's novel and often unorthodox approach to foreign policy could be subsumed by a greater deal-making imperative. Prudent statesmanship on the world stage requires setting clear ends and then working backward to calibrate the appropriate means, diplomatic, economic, military, or otherwise, to achieve those ends. Because of his deal-making background, Trump, despite all of his foreign policy successes, was always uniquely vulnerable to confusion of means and ends, prioritizing a deal itself above any end that a deal might be meant to secure. That is how we got to this troubling week in U.S. foreign policy, namely the deeply flawed new memorandum of understanding between the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran, which represents the single greatest subsumption of noble ends into politically convenient means in at least a decade of American diplomacy. This is Josh Hammer. Not even a final deal yet, and he's telling you the sky is falling. On one hand, you're saying Donald Trump is a deal maker. He's done this his whole life. On the other side, but I don't trust him in this case. Donald Trump is doing the only thing the country is giving him the option to do. Donald Trump is doing the only thing the country is giving him the option to do. 78% of the country wants this to end, so he's trying to find a way to make it end. Because he has to listen to us. He does not have to listen to anybody else but the people who he serves. He serves us. If the American people, right or wrong, say, stop the war, then he's going to feel the pressure and say, hey, we got to stop the war. And if the way to stop the war is to enter into a deal and take what you can get by getting no nuclear weapons and an open Strait of Hormuz, then that's what you've got to do. Well, he's tying his name to J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is not a good negotiator. How do you know J.D. Vance is not a good negotiator? It's been 3 days. It's been 3 days. To act like this whole thing is already an undisputed failure is ridiculous. I'm not telling you it's going to succeed. I'm not telling you it's going to be the best deal ever made. I'm telling you this is his only option, and we don't know how good or bad the final deal is going to be because we don't have a final deal yet. And it's one thing. It is one thing to have an opinion. And it is one thing to have concerns. If you remember, back when Operation Epic Fury started, I told you, I came on here and I told you, I have my concerns that this could turn into a forever war. I have my concerns that this could turn into an Iraq or an Afghanistan. I have my concerns that this could turn into another quagmire in the Middle East. And I still have those concerns. But you don't see me making declarations like, oh, this is what's going to happen, or slamming the administration when they are doing the best that they can do right now. And they are doing it on the American people's behalf. Listen, if this poll said 78% of Americans want the United States to keep bombing Iran, and the United States wasn't doing that, I would be saying, hey, the people want you to just bomb them into submission. Why are we doing deals? The people don't want that. They serve us. They don't serve Israel. They don't serve the Iranian people. They don't serve the Gulf states. They don't serve Europe. The people who are negotiating this deal serve us. The American people want it to end. I want it to end. I'd like to see the regime fall. That doesn't look like it's realistic right now. So what's the next best option? No nukes, open strait. Let's go from there. Let's go from there. Let's go from there. But Vance's dubious Iran diplomacy. This is just somebody who's being a sniveling little whiner who brings up some good points. He says here, the history of Iranian negotiations is littered with broken promises, yet this administration, with Vance as its most prominent salesman, somehow argues this time will be different. I get it. Fool me once, fool me twice, blah, blah, blah. There is zero reason for thinking that will be the case. The mullahs are still in charge, after all. As Roger Daltrey of The Who famously said in the hit 1971 song, won't get fooled again. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. What exactly is different with the current deal? The mind reels. The new MOU with its risks repeating all the same grave mistakes at JCPOA, according to what Josh Hammer says. Yeah, it risks it. What's different? How about the people negotiating the ends of this deal? How about the fact that we've softened them up? That's different. The fact that we killed their supreme leader before entering into negotiations, that's different. There are a few different moving parts. I'm not telling you that I trust Iran. I'm telling you we got to try because it's the only option that we have. The other option is not something that this country has an appetite for. Rightly, wrongly, whatever you might. Oh, the rest of the country's dumb. Okay, fine. Then you think the rest of the country's dumb. I think the rest of the world's dumb for having an appetite for soccer. Okay? You can have your opinion. The point of the matter here is the country does not have an appetite for a prolonged conflict. The country wants it to end now. A deal is the way it's going to end now. Donald Trump doesn't want to keep bombing Iran either. He doesn't like war. He prefers to make a deal. If your argument is you can't make a deal with terrorists, you can't make a deal with Iran, you can't trust Iran, I don't disagree with you. But if it's the only option that we have, then it's the only option we could try out. And we've got to give it an earnest try and not jump off the ship and abandon ship and start hitting the panic button 3 days or 2 days or a day into talks in this 60-day period. And it's going to keep happening. You're going to get mixed messaging all the time in this next 2-month period. The strait's open, the strait's closed. The strait's open, the strait's closed. We're leaving talks, we're coming back to talks. Iran's out, Iran's in. Nukes, no nukes. It's going to keep happening, so be prepared for it. As Kimberly said in the chat before, Iran has to put out their own propaganda to save face with their people. The problem is you've got people in this country who are believing the propaganda, and it just blows my mind. Blows my mind. All right. We're rolling into the second hour here, and I want to get into some more fun stuff. Jeremy Herrell is out this week on vacation. I'll be filling in until 12 noon Eastern time. So for those of you who are coming in looking for Jeremy Herrell on Live from America, you get me, and then I don't remember the rest of the schedule. I could look that up in a second, but there will be others filling in throughout the week. You're going to get 2 hours of me again tomorrow, and then 2 hours of me again on Thursday, doing this exact lineup. So I'll be running from 10 to noon. We'll give a 30,000-foot view on the conversation that we just had about Iran, and then we'll keep moving forward. Before we do that, let's get to a word from our friends over at Cove Pure. You know, it's America 250 season, isn't it? America 250, America 250, America 250. Cove Pure is celebrating America's 250th birthday. Folks, I love every 4th of July, I read the Declaration of Independence. I think it's one of the best documents ever written. And I am looking forward to the 4th of July this year as we ring in 250 years of the greatest country on earth. Here's the crazy part, though, folks. 250 years after our country's founding, we're still drinking whatever the government decided to put in our water. Fluoride for your teeth, chlorine to keep things clean. Well, that's not a decision I want someone else making for me or anybody in this house. That's why I use Cove Pure to purify every drop of water that flows into the cups and water bottles and bowls and everything in this house. Over 209 million Americans are on fluoridated water right now, and here's what the science actually shows. A recent study confirmed that fluoride, you guys know all about it. Fluoride exposure is linked to lower IQ scores in children. It's not a fringe study. That's from JAMA Pediatrics, one of the most respected medical journals in the world. And chlorine, that's not even the worst part. It's what happens when chlorine actually reacts with natural particles in the water from plants and soil. It creates chemical byproducts called THMs, which the government itself calls probable human carcinogens linked to disruption of your gut and cancer. Now, there are some states that are moving on it. Utah and Florida have banned fluoride, but that process takes years to implement. Your kids and your family, they're still drinking that water today. You need something that works right now. And that is exactly what Cove Pure is. Cove Pure is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants, fluoride, THMs, pharmaceuticals, PFAs, anything that isn't water gets filtered out. We love our Cove Pure. The water tastes great. The machine works very easily. No drilling, no plumbing. Just fill up the tank, plug it in, and it does the rest of the work for you. Don't wait for the government to catch up. take back control of your water. And in honor of America's 250th birthday, Cove Pure is giving this audience $250 off if you use my link, covepure.com/Sean, covepure.com/SHAWN. Don't wait. Celebrate America 250. covepure.com/SHAWN, covepure.com/Sean for $250 off. All right. Jeremy Herrell is out today. He is out all week on vacation. I am filling in until noon today, until noon tomorrow, and until noon on Thursday. If you missed the first hour of the show, we've been talking about the Iran negotiations. It seems to be on life support. Is it working? Did they leave? Are they there? Is the Strait of Hormuz open? Is it closed? Do they have a nuke? Is Hezbollah stopping? Is Israel stopping? Is Lebanon an issue? All of these things are still up in the air, and I urge you to calm down. Point number one, calm down. The fog of war is real. There is a ton of just information overload out of there. JLU3 says, just received our Cove Pure on Friday. Such a game changer. Can't figure out the hot water dispense yet, though. Still love it. If you select hot, select an amount, and then you have to hit the little lock button and then press go, it comes out hot. There's probably a YouTube video or something out there anyway. Okay. So you have to give Iran and these, well, you don't have to give Iran anything. You have to give these negotiations a little bit more time before we can start calling them a failure. A bunch of people last week saw the MOU and just went scorched earth on the administration. That helps nobody. Have your opinions, have your concerns. I had mine. You remember I had my concerns last week. I said, I don't like this whole idea that only for 60 days there's no tolls in the Strait. I want to hear that there's no tolls in the Strait beyond 60 days. Well, then you had Vance say this.
Well, first of all, we believe international waterways should be free of tolls. And that's been our position. That's what you see, of course, in the 60 days of the MOU. And when you say it leaves it open, it doesn't really leave it open, except in the sense that, of course, the final negotiation is going to set the terms of what comes afterwards, right? You said, I think that it's the Omanis and the Iranians, but it's actually the MOU contemplates that the Omanis, the Iranians, and the Gulf Coast Coalition together will figure out a proper security framework for the Straits in the future. And what I mean by that is that we don't ever want this to happen again. Right? That's not about tolling. That's about ensuring that the Straits are never used as a choke point for the global economy ever again. It's frankly not what the Iranians want. It's not what the Omanis want. It's not what the GCC wants either. So what we're going to do, of course, working with our allies in the region, is to ensure that that is reflected in the final deal. And if that's not reflected in the final deal, there's not going to be a final deal. And that is, I keep coming back to this fundamental structural point of this negotiation, which is that we have all the cards. If the Iranians want the benefits of the bargain, they have to give us the things that are necessary to get those benefits.
All right. So that was Vance last week. Now he's in Switzerland, and part of the negotiations here, there are not going to be tolls charged on ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz. There are not going to be tolls implemented by Iran. So, I had that concern in the MOU and said, I don't like, remember that last week? Do you remember that? Last week, I read through it, the MOU on Thursday, and I said, I don't like that. But what did I do? Did I take it and go, that's it. That's it. This administration's a failure. Now I'm going to start screaming about how everything sucks and we're giving up everything and we got lied to. And Iran, they said we decimated them and we didn't actually decimate them. And now they're going to charge tolls and it's a bait and switch. Did I go crazy last Thursday? Did I go crazy? No. I said, I don't like that. Let's see what the administration's plan is for it before we come up with an opinion. If the administration had come out and said, yeah, no tolls for 60 days, but then we're just going to settle on tolls, I'd say, that's a bad deal. I don't think you should do that. Okay? But now what we're seeing, again, Trump says there's going to be no tolls in the final deal. Vance says there's going to be no tolls in the final deal. Trey Yingst gave a report yesterday about how there's going to be no tolls in the final deal. So that's point number 2 in these negotiations. And number 3, just to round it all out, and just so I'm very, very clear on my position regarding the players on the board here in this Iran conflict. The United States of America and its leaders serve the interests of the American people, the wishes, the desires, and the demands of the American people above anyone else. That means our leaders serve Americans before they serve Israelis. Our leaders serve Americans before they serve Europeans. Our leaders serve Americans before they serve Iranians. Our leaders serve Americans before they serve anyone. Period. And with this polling that says 78% of Americans want the conflict with Iran to end right now, that is ironclad data that says there is no appetite for a continued war in the region. So, with what I just said, American elected officials, diplomats, etc., who are in these negotiations, they serve the American people before anyone else. The American people are speaking quite loudly. Get out of there. If the American people were saying bomb them, then I'd be on this show telling you, hey, we shouldn't be working out a deal. We should be bombing them because that's what the country wants. If the American people said, let's just do a boots on the ground thing, topple the regime and then leave, I wouldn't want to see it, but the rest of the people want to see it. Listen, that's the way this system is supposed to work. We can't worry about whose feelings are going to get hurt in the region. We can only worry about whose feelings are going to be hurt here at home. And the American people are speaking very loudly right now. They want this war to end now. They want this war to end now. So I know that there are talking points, and I know that there are opinions out there that say, oh, well, we should do a better job with Israel right now, and we shouldn't bully them in the Middle East, and we shouldn't do this with them and that with them, and we shouldn't say this and we shouldn't say that. And some of it may be correct. I get it. But at the end of the day, who does Donald Trump serve? Who does J.D. Vance serve? Who does our military serve? Who does our government serve? First and foremost, before anyone else, they serve the American people. And over 3/4 of the American people want this conflict to wrap up. So the American people have given this administration really no other path forward than to strike a deal and get out of there. And it may not be the greatest deal, and it may not be the most complete deal, but if it accomplishes an open Strait of Hormuz, no nuclear weapon via development or procurement for Iran, and a cessation of fighting in or around Israel, which is, I'm very cynical and skeptical that that's going to happen, then you've got at least something to hang your hat on at the end of these negotiations. That's it. And if you want the regime to fall, well, then you're asking for the Iranian people to rise up. And they currently, what I'm told, everyone says, they can't rise up because they don't have the weapons. And the only way to get them the weapons, because there's no such thing as a weapons ferry, is to deliver them. And the only way to deliver them is to put American boots on the ground and pass them out. And then you're putting people in harm's way. And how do you know that you're giving weapons to the right people? And how do you know the IRGC isn't gonna attack those services? That opens up an entire can of worms that, as we said, 78% of the country is not in favor of it right now. This is the only way forward. Make a deal, and that's it. And if the regime falls, it's going to have to be because of internal issues, whether it's the Iranian people or a mutiny between the IRGC and the folks who are in charge now. That's it. All right. All right. The war will be over when the job is done. Don't care what any poll says, period. 45-47. The dash does not mean and. This is a military. Oh, that's okay. All right. I'm going to be nice and not say anything about that, but that's one of those Derek Johnson. There's a military. That's a cute thing. That's silly. All right. Let's take... We're not going to take a break. We're going to move on. Would you like to have a little bit of fun? I'd like to have a little bit of fun. Let's have some fun at the expense of Kamala Harris. Before we have fun at the expense of Kamala Harris, let's take a look at what she talked about on the Don Lemon show yesterday. By the way, the dash on the MAGA hat does mean and. It's not a military operation, okay? I don't care how many episodes of the X-22 report you've watched and you believe otherwise. That's not what it means. This is not a military operation. That's a psyop, and a very silly one at that. And it should be one of these things where, like, you realize, like, after a certain number of times that the predictions aren't coming true. You should stop being fooled by it, but whatever. To each their own. Kamala Harris, Trump accountability, 2028. This is what she had to say with Don Lemon yesterday. So remember, when Trump talks like this, he's a dictator. When Kamala talks like this, she's a hero. Watch this.
I'm not a politician, but I think that the people who deserve to be prosecuted or whatever it is for misusing the Justice Department and abusing, I believe, American citizens and American politicians, or whether you want to say political rivals or whatever, I think that they should face, some sort of justice.
Oh, well, I absolutely believe that. And I believe that there should be there should be accountability.
But how does that look like in a legal realm?
And especially for people in the highest roles of power and authority, those who abuse their power and authority should be held accountable, and there should be consequence.
If you are president, let's just say in 2028 you are elected, will you make sure that there's accountability?
Oh, I believe firmly in accountability.
Okay, so when Trump talked like that on the campaign trail, it was like, oh, he's a fascist. He's gonna weaponize the justice system. Now, Kamala Harris basically saying the exact same things, and it's like, oh, how heroic. Yeah, vote for Kamala Harris for accountability. Interesting. So when Democrats talk like that, it's fine. But when Republicans talk like that, it's fascism. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. Now, it's time for, where is my fork? Those of you who don't know, this is the word salad fork. This is a big one. All right. Here's Kamala Harris. Here's Kamala Harris with an epic word salad. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've had the word salad fork. It's been a while since we've had this conversation about Kamala Harris making up words and trailing on and on and on and on incoherently. Joe Biden at least had an excuse.
I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly.
Right? Joe Biden at least had an excuse. Dementia. But Kamala doesn't have that excuse. So let us get to Kamala Harris's word salad yesterday on the word hope. This is interesting. Watch this.
I really, truly believe this. We each have light inside of us. And we need to know that that is what inspires our hope as much as anything external to ourselves. And when we feel that and not allow an election or an individual to dampen that light, and instead let that light kind of carry us, in particular through moments of darkness, that we not only act on that hope, but we inspire that hope in each other. And in particular at this moment, it is so important that we not only have hope, but that we understand that that should be a verb.
Hope should be a verb? As if hope is not a verb? Is she? Okay. All right. I could just lose my mind right now. Let's go to Google. Let's go. Wait.
Google.
All right, let's go to Google. Define hope. Define hope. Let's see. Let's go to Merriam-Webster. I got along very well with Merriam-Webster. Merriam-Webster is a tremendous person. They're actually two people. Think about it. Merriam-Webster. Let's do it. Define. We're going to use it. Google is on the case. Kamala Harris. Hope should be a verb. Hope is a verb. You freaking moron. It's also a noun. It's both. Hope is a thing. It's a thing that you can have, and it's a thing that you can do. This woman, it should be a verb. We should treat it like a verb. Well, it is. Holy cow. She should use Google.
Google what they said.
Once in a while. Oh, my gosh. John Yarder says, was that a new "This is your brain on drugs" commercial? I'll tell you what. Yeah, that's a that was just a total mess. That was a total mess. All right. We had some fun with Kamala Harris. Let's move into another piece of, let's do a little bit of good news. Want to try a little bit of good news this morning? A little bit of encouraging news this morning, okay? How about a little bit of encouraging news this morning from the Department of Homeland Security? The Department of Homeland Security is saying that the Trump administration deportations are at a record high. Let's dive into this because obviously, you know, all problems in this country can be traced back to illegal immigration, right? So here it is. Department of Homeland Security says deportations are at a record high. Deportations are at a record high according to the DHS, which is warning illegal aliens to self-deport or risk being arrested. Deportation flights are at a record high, DHS report wrote in a post on X, replying to a post in which the Washington Examiner shared that nearly 900,000 illegal aliens have been involuntarily deported since the start of the Trump administration in January of 2025. DHS added that the American people gave the Trump administration a mandate to arrest and remove criminal illegal aliens, adding that under President Donald Trump and Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen, the agency would continue to deliver. Data from the Human Rights First organization revealed that in May, the Trump administration carried out roughly 296 flights, removing illegal aliens from the country, the Washington Examiner reported. This represented a more than double increase from the 126 flights removing illegal aliens during Trump's first full month in office. So these are involuntary deportations, okay? How many self-deportations are there? There's more than that. I would imagine the total number at this point is close to 4 million deported. Not enough. Not enough. I get it. I understand. Not enough. But you've got to start somewhere. What is part of the problem now with regards to deportations? Judges, courts, Democrat obstruction, right? Finding the people, processing them. There's a process. You can't just grab them and put them in the Trumpapult like I want and fling them over the border, right? There's a process that unfortunately has to be followed. And these rogue judges and all these obstructionists, they're making the process that much harder to follow, right? So 900,000 illegal aliens have been deported, and the amount of flights that were flown out in May have increased nearly double than what they were in Trump's first full month in office. So we are trending in the right direction. Are we done? Is this over yet? No. But again, I always hear this from the black pill crowd. Donald Trump is backing off from mass deportations. Really? Because 900,000 illegal aliens have been deported in the last year and a half. Involuntarily deported. Then you have millions who have decided to self-deport so they don't get hogtied and thrown in the back of a van and flung into another country and dropped somewhere they don't want to be. Fact of the matter is, millions of illegal aliens who were once in this country are not in this country. And it's a lot easier for everybody and a lot more efficient for everybody if they self-deport versus going in, finding them, arresting them, confirming who they are, going through the process, loading them on a plane, flying them out of the country. It's a lot easier if they just self-deport, which is why the administration is saying, hey, get out. If you get out by yourself, we'll help you leave, and then you'll have the opportunity to legally come back into the country at some point. If you're arrested and we have to force you out, you can't come back. Combine that with the fact that this border has never been more secure. Any of these illegals that are encountered on the border are not being released into our country, and you have a very promising trend developing regarding immigration in the southern border. Anyone who's coming in is being arrested. They're not being released into the country. 900,000 illegal aliens have been involuntarily deported from the country, and a couple million have voluntarily left the country. And so you're looking at around 4 million in the last year and a half that are out of here. That's not nothing. That's not the end all be all. That's not the finished product, but that is something, and we should all be very happy with that progress. If the number of illegals in this country is 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, yeah, you've only gotten rid of, at best, 25% of them, but you've got another 2.5 years. And if we do our job in the midterms and we do our job in 2028, and we have a Republican administration then as well, and we continue to build off of the work that has been, the groundwork that has been laid here by the Trump administration, we could turn the tide here and get them all out. Don't listen to anybody. Oh, only 250,000 illegals have been 900,000. Okay? 900,000. All right. Where do we want to go from here? Where do we want to go from here? Let's go. Let's see. What do we want to do? All right, let's go into this story about Jasmine Crockett. While I annoy you with more Democrats, let's go to Jasmine Crockett, because Jasmine Crockett, let me ask you a question in the live chat. See if you guys pick up where I'm going here. Who does Jasmine Crockett care about the most? Who does Jasmine Crockett care about the most? In the live chat, let me know. Who does Jasmine Crockett care about the most in the live chat? Pretty simple answer. Everyone should agree. Who does Jasmine Crockett care about the most? There you go. Everyone says herself or Jasmine. Herself, her Jasmine, her eyelashes. Yes, illegals. True. Jasmine Crockett cares more about herself than anybody else. Okay? Now, what happened to Jasmine Crockett back in, I don't know, earlier this year during the primary cycle? She lost her primary, her Democrat Texas Senate primary, to James Talafrico. Well, now Jasmine Crockett is kind of not being a team player. She's kind of not being a team player with regards to Talarico's Senate candidacy. Here we go. Nick Arama over on Red State. I think the Democrat powers that be thought James Talarico had a better chance against the Republicans in the general election for the Senate seat from Texas than Jasmine Crockett. However, they may have deluded themselves with that thought as the problematic statements and issues in Talarico's past have come tumbling out. You know, Talarico believes God is non-binary. Talarico has said all these insane things. The Democrats are trying desperately. You know, he's a vegan, right? Or he was at one point. He's running a no-meat campaign in Texas. He wants the southern border to be a welcome mat. He's just a weird guy. Democrats are trying desperately to repaint Talarico as not a leftist and clarifying his past statements. They're trying to spin it. That's generally a bad look, and then he looks inauthentic. They also have a Jasmine Crockett problem. They don't have Jasmine Crockett on board to stump for James Talarico, which could do what? Could hurt his performance in the black vote. Talarico's campaign said the winning candidate recently personally phoned the lefty firebrand who lost to him in the Democrat primary in March and left a voice message inviting her to give a keynote speech at the party's upcoming convention. But Jasmine Crockett told the Dallas Morning News late last week that she didn't even listen to the message, ripping it as an afterthought invite, and indicated she does not plan to attend the convention. Kind of sounds a little bit like Jasmine Crockett got a little bit of sour grapes, doesn't it? So she loses the primary, And she expects James Tallarico to show up on bended knee, wash her feet, kiss her hand, and genuflect in front of the altar of Jasmine Crockett. She lost the primary, but she apparently is demanding special treatment and over-the-top treatment if they want her to stump for Tallarico in Texas and help campaign for Tallarico in Texas. Well, that didn't happen, and now she's insulted by it, apparently. She's not getting enough attention. And that's all Jasmine Crockett is about, isn't it? Crockett didn't just leave it there. She said she didn't know if she would campaign for Tallarico. She says, I have no idea. I'm more focused on down-ballot races in general. She also indicated there could be a problem for Tallarico with black voters. Quote, I have not heard a bunch of kumbaya, she told the outlet, about Tallarico standing among black voters. People don't seem to be convinced at this point, but there's a lot of time between now and November, she noted. Now, if that's true, that is a problem for Tallarico. He is going to need all the votes he can to get over the top. And if he is not coming across and does not have support from Jasmine Crockett in the black community, he's not going to beat Ken Paxton. I'm not telling you if you're in Texas to take your feet off, put your feet up and put your hands back and lean back and relax. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the Democrats are not playing nice with each other in the sandbox. As much as we hear about the MAGA divide and, division on the right, there's a lot of it on the left, too. I'm going to play for you this clip of Jasmine Crockett, who is just, well, she seems offended. You lost the primary. They didn't genuflect in front of the altar of Jasmine Crockett. They didn't wash her feet. They didn't kiss her hands. They didn't, bow down and glorify Jasmine Crockett, who's a loser, by the way. She lost her primary. She's not getting enough attention. She's not being made feel special enough. And now she's kind of like, well, I'm not going to campaign for him. Watch this.
I will say it for the record. I am not currently running for U.S. Senate, and therefore you will not see me on the trail as if I am running for U.S. Senate. I am not running for U.S. Senate. Instead, what I have always said that I would do, whether I was the Senate nominee or otherwise, is that I will be helping down ballot candidates. But y'all are still so focused on me. Bro, I'm not running. I'm not running. Okay? So, focus on the people that are in the race. So if you have this urge to be like, oh, Jasmine this, Jasmine that, maybe use that energy towards Kim Paxton this, Kim Paxton that. Because last time I checked, no matter how much I end up being a part of the conversation, there is one person that is guaranteed not to become the next senator in the state of Texas, and that's Jasmine Felicia Crockett.
She's not being a team player. Keep doing that, Jasmine. I support it. I'm all about it. You don't want to be a team player? You don't want to help James Tallarico with the black community? You don't want to say, I'm not focused on the Senate race. You had sour grapes. You're upset. You're taking your ball. You're going home. You're leaving him, to die and shrivel up on the vine. Fine. You're not going to see. That's fine. Fine by me. Don't be a team player in Texas. That's cool. She looks mad, right? She seems, I'm not running. Well, you're not running because you lost your primary, right? All right. Suit yourself. So let's say in the midterms now, let's say with the Senate race, right? So there's 53 seats. We're going to lose North Carolina, I think. I don't think we're going to lose Maine. I think we could flip Georgia. So that offsets one of those. That offsets the North Carolina flip. But let's say 53 and you lose, let's say worst case scenario. You lose Georgia. You lose North Carolina. That's down to 52 now. You lose Maine. That's down to 51. I don't think we're losing Iowa. I don't think we're losing Texas. I don't think we're losing Ohio. If you lose Michigan, that's status quo because that's already a Democrat-held seat. So you go down from 53, to 51? I don't think we're going to lose Alaska. However, if you don't lose Maine and you do flip Georgia, and I do think that's a possibility, Michigan could flip. I think that's a possibility. North Carolina, I think, is as good as gone. You could actually expand your lead in the Senate. The bottom line is, I find it very difficult. And remember, we still quote unquote control the Senate if J.D. Vance is the vice president, which he will be, with 50 votes. I think it's possible that the Democrats fail in one of those swing states like Michigan or Georgia. But if the Democrats don't win in Maine, and I don't think they're going to win in Maine, and they don't win in Texas, there's no way the Republicans lose the Senate. Okay? That being said, what's the best way to make sure we don't lose in November? Too big to rig. There it is. Little sneeze there for you as well. I don't think you're losing Idaho either. I don't think so. All right. Let's take another break. We'll get to a word from our friends over at Silent. It's slnt.com, slnt.com, silent.com/SHAWN. Let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, your phone is a tracking device. Between government agencies, big tech, corporate data brokers, even those pesky cyber criminals, they're all fighting for a piece of your digital footprint, and they don't ask. They just go on and take it. That is why Silent exists. Silent makes Faraday gear that blocks all wireless signals, including cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, RFID, and near-field communications. No signal means no tracking, no remote access, and no breadcrumbs. It's the same technology trusted by special operations teams around the world, used to block signals, avoid surveillance, and secure communications wherever the mission leads. And right now, that technology is available to you so you can protect your family, you can protect your freedom, and you can secure your digital footprint. Just drop your phone in a Silent Faraday sleeve, and it is off the grid, completely silent and invisible to the outside world. From their backpacks to their sleeves to their crossbody, Silent's patented technology gives you total control of your privacy. Just visit slnt.com/Sean. Get 15% off and free shipping on qualifying orders. That is slnt.com/Sean. Protect your rights, secure your data, and stay one step ahead. Silent.com. Say it with me. Silence the chaos and go silent today. Silent.com/Sean. slnt.com/SHAWN. Jeremy Herrell again on vacation today. I'll be filling in for you for the next 25 minutes until noon Eastern time. And then we hand it off to the rest of the coalition that will be handling Jeremy's shows this week. Let us get back. Let us get back to some more hilarity out of Washington, D.C. Did those of you see the pro-algae protest last week? This is one of my favorite stories I've ever seen. Trump derangement syndrome is a real disease. It's a real disease. Anything that Donald Trump stands against, the Democrats are for. And on the other side, the flip side, anything that Donald Trump stands for, the Democrats are against. So Donald Trump was trying to clean the algae out of the D.C. reflecting pool and make an American flag blue and make it beautiful. And what happened? There was this. A group of idiots at the reflecting pool protesting in favor, yes, you saw that correctly, of algae. The Team Algae sign, go algae. If Trump doesn't like algae, we like algae. You know, part of me is like, oh, maybe it's a joke. Right? Maybe it's a joke. I don't think it's a joke. The left, the mainstream media, leftists on social media, they are using algae as a way to try and score political points against Donald Trump, or else CNN wouldn't have done this last week.
And we're going to scoop up a water sample to see if we can get this tested.
CNN independently took the sample of water and consulted with a pool store that regularly tests water to help read the results. It showed phosphate levels far higher than what is recommended to keep algae at bay based on estimates for a pool that holds 6.5 million gallons of water.
If there's already some phosphate fertilizer in the water, that's really opportunistic, especially for the blue-green algae that can fix nitrogen. So they are having a field day out here, probably.
The Department of Interior says they believe some of the initial problem was residual algae that had accumulated in pipes and insists the filtration system called the ozone nanobubbler is working.
All right. So there was no in-depth coverage on CNN about the Somali fraud in Minneapolis that was uncovered by Nick Shirley, or the hospice fraud in California, or the illegal aliens that are murdering Americans, or, the Irna Zarutska story, right? Or the Nowak story out there in the United Kingdom, or the 250,000 girls that have been projected to have been raped by roving rape gangs that forced the resignation of Keir Starmer in the UK. No stories about any of that. No deep dives about any of that. But we got an action shot of a lady. Look at this. Look at the algae in the pool water. Donald Trump is a failure because there's algae. And they're rooting this on. How many people in the live chat have a swimming pool? How many people in this live chat have a swimming pool? I'm curious. How many folks in the live chat have a pool? I want to see some participation here. Rumble seems to be glitching today. That's fine. Whatever. Nobody, as far as we're concerned, ain't no good days happening right now. Okay? All right. So you got a bunch of people in here have a pool. Well, here we go. Shaft had one. Cat Lover has one. Terry has one. Lulu Red has one. Bobbin has one. Look at this. A lot of people have pools. A lot of people. A lot of people have pools. Hollywood used to install in-ground pools. Okay. All right. Now, for those of you who have had pools, or you have pools right now, is algae a pain in the butt? Is it tough to deal with? Do you like dealing with it? Is it a persistent problem? Sometimes we lived at home. When I grew up, we had a small swimming pool in the backyard. We sometimes had to deal with algae. It was a pain. I remember dealing with it. It was a pain. If your levels weren't just right, the algae bloomed, and then it makes the pool green, and it's all over the floor, and it's slick and gross, and no matter what happens, it always comes back. It's a pain in the butt, isn't it? Look at that. Here, Mermaid Mills. Algae is a consistent issue with the pool. It's a pain. Do any of you guys and the gals who have pools in the live chat like dealing with the algae? Are any of you guys like, yes, we got algae. Now it's time to go in and de-algify the pool. Any of you guys in this chat who currently deal with swimming pools, do you enjoy dealing with algae? Yes or no? Any of you guys in the live chat enjoy dealing with algae? Yes or no? Shaft says, no, I don't like dealing with algae. Speak says, no, I don't like dealing with algae. Bobbin says, no, I don't like dealing with algae. Aquariums too, yes. Nobody likes dealing with algae. If you've had to deal with it in your swimming pool, you don't like dealing with it, right? Look at this, it's unanimous. It's always an issue, I don't like it. It's expensive to deal with it. Some have never had a problem. You are one of the lucky ones, as you can see. Cat lovers, I can't believe we're talking about algae. The point that I'm making here in this segment here is that nobody who has a pool likes dealing with algae. It's annoying. It's a pain in the butt. It's expensive. If your levels are out of whack, then it gets cloudy. It's not clear. It's green. It's slick on the bottom. It's gross. All right. Because as silly as this story is, Cat Lover goes, I can't believe we're talking about algae. This highlights how bad the TDS is on the left. Remember, we always talk about the 80-20 issues. This is a 0-100 issue. Nobody who has a swimming pool enjoys when their swimming pool experiences an algae bloom. And yet the Democrats, their protesters, and the media implicitly are like, we love algae. This is not going to go over well with many Americans. I'm not telling you that this factor is going to swing an election. I'm just showing you this is how out of touch they could be. When I made a bit last year in August and I said, we're endorsing oxygen. We love oxygen. We love air. Air is tremendous. You should breathe in. You should breathe out. You should continue to take deep breaths. You should do a tremendous job. We love air. Air is great. It's one of the greatest things in the history of the world. We encourage you to breathe. And we joked and said now a bunch of liberals are going to hold their breath. That's not a joke if they actually thought that was Donald Trump. That's not a joke if they actually thought that was Donald Trump. When I made a follow-up bit to that, said, don't shower with your toaster, don't lick your wall outlets. It's very unsafe. You could get fried, you could get shocked, you could get electrocuted. It could be horrible, it could be terrible. And people were like, you better be careful or leftists are going to start licking their outlets. It's not a joke. They will take up arms, they will organize, they will take a stance on anything that Donald Trump opposes. He's trying to get algae out of a reflecting pool. They're on Team Algae. And now they have escalated it so far that because there's been vandalism at the reflecting pool, all Donald Trump wanted to do was make the reflecting pool look nice. You would say, no, they're not against. Yes, they are against it. They want to do everything in their power to make sure that whatever Donald Trump does, he fails. Whether it's Iran, whether it's the border, whether it's the economy, whether it's tariffs, whether it's legislation, whether it's tax cuts, or whether it's cleaning a pool. They want to make sure that Donald Trump fails no matter what. You cannot vote for these people because they're not concerned about you. They're just concerned about countering Trump. That doesn't help you. Now you've got the National Guard standing around the reflecting pool because people are going in there and vandalizing it. And you have, I kid you not, pro-algae protesters harassing the National Guard at the reflecting pool. Watch this.
$1.1 million for y'all to watch porn scum. Our money's really being fucking spent well for y'all to watch porn scum. Let's go, Algae. Let's go. So the National Guard could come and watch porn scum. $1.1 million a day so the National Guard could come and watch porn scum. Y'all trying to find something to arrest me for, aren't y'all? Right? You're going to try to find something to arrest me for.
Let's go, Algae. Let's go. Harassing the National Guard. Oh, you spent all this money to watch Pond Scum. Are you serious? Do you think you're winning over hearts and minds with this? Now, granted, I don't think anybody really cares. It's just embarrassing. But you can't find something productive to do? You dressed up in a frog suit with a Team Algae sign and harassed the National Guard? If you worked half as hard at, I don't know, a job, a real job, go play around on ChatGPT and invent something. Vibe code for an hour or two. Build something. Do something productive. This is ridiculous. You're going to vote for these people? Independents need to understand. Those people, the Team Algae, screaming at the National Guard, those are the people who are going to influence any Democrats that win Senate seats and House seats. Those people essentially will be in charge if they win in November. The Team Algae people. You can't vote for that. You can't expect your life to get better if that's what you're dealing with. What a pathetic joke. You got members of the National Guard standing by the reflecting pool because people are vandalizing the reflecting pool because they hate Donald Trump that much. Imagine being consumed, so consumed by your hatred of one man that you have resorted to vandalizing national monuments, cheering on Algae, dressing up in a frog suit and harassing the National Guard, all because you hate a guy. It's a mental illness. And you may look at that and go, it's only a few of them. That's not the whole left. No. Those are the people who are driving the Democrat Party. If you are a moderate Democrat, it is not your party anymore. It is their party. It is the Team Algae People's Party. It is the Frog Suit Party.
$1.1 million for y'all to watch porn scum.
If you are a moderate Democrat, that's the party that you think you still belong to. You don't belong to that. You didn't sign up for that. You're not Looney Tunes like that. And you can't vote for that in November. I know you may say, oh, this is such an insignificant thing. The algae thing, whatever. That conversation's going to be over. It's not just the algae thing. This is a representation of how these people think. No matter what Donald Trump does, they are going to try and stand in the way. If Donald Trump could cure world hunger tomorrow, they'd eat all the food. If Donald Trump could cure cancer and AIDS and all of these terrible diseases tomorrow, they would undermine the cure and ban it. Or push for it to be, push for that cure not to be made available to the American people, or whine that it costs, or whatever. Donald Trump could do anything. It could be for the betterment of the world. It could be for the betterment of them, and they will oppose it. You can't vote for these people in November and expect anything to get better. The Team Algae, Frog Suit, harassed the National Guard, Trump derangement syndrome, stage 5, deeply infected lunatics on the left drive that party. If you are a moderate Democrat, a Kennedy Democrat, even a Bill Clinton Democrat, you do not have a home in the current Democrat Party. You cannot trust these people with your vote in November. You can't. You can't. All right. Quick break, and we'll get to a word from our friends at goldencrestmetals.com/LFA, goldencrestmetals.com/LFA. We got 10 minutes left to go in this 2-hour marathon this morning. goldencrestmetals.com/LFA.
I'm sure by now you've heard that silver went up 160% last year, 2025. I bought this silver for $22 an ounce. It's now worth almost $100. And we and experts think that silver is going to get up to about $200 an ounce. Palladium and platinum were stuck at $900 an ounce for like over a year, or in that area. Now they're up over $2,000. Gold is approaching $5,000 an ounce. If you have ever thought about putting some or all of your retirement or nest egg or savings or just buying bullion in precious metals, now's the time to do it. goldencrestmetals.com/LFA. That's goldencrestmetals.com/LFA. Go leave your name, your email, and your phone number. Schedule a time to talk to the folks over at Golden Crest Metals. Get your free gold guide today, and make sure you tune in on Saturdays at 1 p.m. for the Crest Report, where we dive deep into precious metals, why they're doing what they're doing, and where we expect them to go. It is like insider trading. Nancy Pelosi knows about that. We don't. It's just inside information. It's not even really that. It's called knowledge. Get yours today and get a part of gold, silver, palladium, and platinum, and diversify your portfolio today. goldencrestmetals.com/LFA.
That is goldencrestmetals.com/LFA, goldencrestmetals.com/LFA. I know a lot of people are looking for Brennan in the chat right now. She is dealing with the cats. I try to make light of it with this feline civil war of 2026. It's not good right now. I'm not going to share what happened this morning, but it's really bad. So again, I humbly ask, if you have outdoor pets, please control them, because this started because someone let their pet roam and it started a fight. Okay? And unfortunately, catnip and laser pointers don't help. Not with what we're dealing with right now. This is really serious. I don't think you understand. So, as much as I want to make light of it, it's not a laughing matter. It's very serious. It's not good. So, it's bad. So, anyway, let's talk about this. Back to the reflecting pool and the vandalization. A former US Olympian was arrested for vandalizing the DC reflecting pool. So here we go again. You're gonna go commit a crime because you don't like that Donald Trump cleaned a reflecting pool? I could not imagine being so possessed by hatred for one person to bring myself to do something like this. Now, again, this is just allegations. The person in question, 67-year-old David Hearn, a three-time Olympic canoeist, allegedly vandalized the reflecting pool and was arrested by U.S. Park Police on Friday. He's denying they did anything wrong. He'll have his day in court. Former U.S. Olympic canoeist was arrested Saturday after allegedly vandalizing the newly refurbished reflecting pool near the Lincoln Memorial as the Trump administration vows to prosecute vandals. 67-year-old David Hearn, three-time Olympic canoeist, allegedly vandalized the reflecting pool and was arrested by U.S. Park Police on Friday. Hearn denied the accusation, telling the Associated Press he merely reached into the pool to examine the peeling new coating. "I'm a curious citizen," Hearn said. "I reached down to see what it felt like. It was very rubbery." Hearn represented the United States in 1992, 1996, and 2000 Summer Olympics. He was also named the USA Canoe and Kayak Male Athlete of the Year. Hearn has a history of arrests with the U.S. Park Police. In 96, he was arrested after canoeing in the Potomac River. Despite an emergency river closure, he was charged with failing to obey a lawful order and eventually won in court after a federal judge ruled that Park Police did not have jurisdiction over the water. In the most recent incident, Hearn was reportedly finishing a 52-mile bike ride when he approached the reflecting pool and put his hand in, only to be confronted by Park Police and National Guard troops. Journalist Emily Miller, who was the one who got the Team Algae protest footage, who was present, said that he had grabbed a hose that National Park Service workers were using to clear the algae. The reflecting pool has stoked anger. This is the craziest part. In many left-wing activists who have taken issue with the Trump administration's effort to clean up the monument. All right. You want to have a problem with how the administration handled the Epstein files? Okay. I don't like the way it was handled. You want to have a problem with how the administration has handled the Iran conflict? You want to make the argument that we never should have gotten into it at all? Fine, we can have that conversation. You want to have a problem with the government spending in the big, beautiful bill and all the pork and all that stuff that was loaded in there and the deficit and all that? We can have that conversation. But if you are going to dig your heels in and take the position that it is a problem or somehow a bad thing to clean monuments, you are a freaking lunatic. You're a nutcase. Like, you should be receiving the small room, big needle, long nap protocol. You should be receiving the small room, big needle, long nap protocol on repeat until your behavior improves. You're nuts. You should not be out amongst normal people in society. You're crazy. He's cleaning a monument and you have a problem with it. This is not something that anybody would think is controversial, cleaning things. Well, he's spending a lot of money. Yeah, government has the tendency to spend lots of money on trivial things. Fine, we can have that conversation. You're going to dig in opposition to making something clean? This is like when he was cleaning up D.C. with the crime. They're like, no, we want more crime. What? You people are nuts. Not you in the chat. But you men and women on the left, gestating and non-gestating people on the left, you people are crazy. Absolutely insane. And maybe it takes something as trivial as algae in a reflecting pool to make people realize that. Because maybe when we go look at these leftists, they're defending criminals, but they bring race into the equation and people go, oh yeah, well, it does look kind of racist. And maybe, when you're talking about mass deportations and they show up an image of a kid and they detained a child and it looks bad. There's bad optics. There are no optics that the left can spin that people will look at this algae obsession and say, I kind of see they have a point. They don't have a point. And maybe this will be the eyes wide open, wake up, aha moment that many normies have. They go, wow, maybe these people really are nuts. Pro-algae and vandalizing the reflecting pool, and they don't want things to be clean. And it's like, maybe those guys on the quote-unquote right who said that the left opposes the 80-20 issues and are standing in the way of positive change, like maybe they were right about something. Maybe it is the algae. Maybe it is this stupidity that's been on display from the left. Maybe that is what'll help wake up some of the normies. I don't know. You know, you can wish in one hand and drop a duke in the other, I guess. Maybe. Final story of the day. The FBI has created a most wanted fraudsters list. This is pretty cool. And one of the fraudsters that was on that list, who was convicted, he pled guilty to $1.2 billion in Medicare fraud, but then he fled the country, was just arrested in the Philippines. There you go. Most wanted fraudsters list. Fugitive who pled guilty in $1.2 billion Medicare scheme nabbed in the Philippines. A Chicago native who allegedly ran a $1.2 billion healthcare fraud conspiracy targeting elderly victims on Medicare was captured in the Philippines and shipped back to the United States, becoming the second suspect nabbed on the FBI's new most wanted fraudsters list. Herbert Leon Kimball, 60 years old, was arrested in the Philippines, where he had evaded authorities for nearly 2 years, according to federal investigators. In just over 2 weeks, this is the second most wanted fraudster arrested on the FBI's list, led by Vice President Vance and the White House Task Force to Eliminate Fraud. FBI Director Kash Patel posted on Friday. Kimball was initially charged for his role in the healthcare fraud and kickback scheme and pled guilty to conspiracy to defraud the United States on April 4th, 2019. After years of cooperation against other co-conspirators, Kimball failed to appear at his sentencing on October 7th, 2024. According to the Health and Human Services Office of the Inspector General, from approximately 2014 to 2019, Herbert Kimball controlled and operated an offshore call center that marketed orthotic braces for pain through advertisements on television and the internet. Once a Medicare beneficiary called a 1-800 number listed in the advertisements, they would be screened for eligibility and then convinced that they needed the orthotic brace. Often upsold on other braces, the call center would then conduct a telemedicine company whose physician would issue a prescription without regard to medical necessity. The charges included conspiracy to defraud the United States, healthcare fraud, wire fraud, mail fraud, making false claims, and offering kickbacks and bribes. Kimball became the second fugitive to be checked off from the new most wanted fraudsters list, which was created by the U.S. Department of Justice as a part of the National Fraud Enforcement Division to support President Donald Trump's task force to eliminate fraud. Last week, they also got Saeed Abdahali, a Reg 47 who was wanted for his alleged participation in a Minneapolis, Minnesota fraud scheme that exploited the federal child nutrition program during COVID-19. So there you go. Keep cracking down on fraud. Makes our country a better place. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please, if you're watching here, go to any of your podcasting apps and hit subscribe. After searching for Ungoverned, it helps us reach some new people there, helps bring more folks into the LFA family. Coming up next, who is up next? I don't even know. Let me see if I could find out who is up next here on rumble.com/LFA TV. Jeremy Herrell is off for the week. I'll be back tomorrow from 10 to 12 once again. Rumble.com/LFA TV. As President Trump says, we will never give up, we will never give in, and we will never, ever surrender. And if all else fails, we'll just become ungovernable. Thank you. God bless you. God bless this one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have a great rest of your day. Paul Harrell coming up from noon to 2 right here on rumble.com/LFA TV. Have a great rest of your Monday. We're back here tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Thank you for your attention to this matter.